right on time too. Wow. And we're live with Raw Castaldo. Welcome back. It's been like 9 years. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, guys, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I love the word your podcast name is Space Water Podcast, exploring the Ka with Raw. I love it. So it looks like you've been pretty busy since we talked last.
Yeah, brother, it's been a long journey. This last almost 10 years have gone by really fast, and a lot of work has been going on since then as well. And I have a lot to share. And you guys are going to see some explosive information I'm about to share with you. And eventually, I don't know if it's going to take. It's starting to catch on a little bit. I've been speaking at conferences all throughout the world, India, New York, different places all over, but it's starting to catch on. But I think even if it takes 20 years from now, people are going to realize that this information is going to send shockwaves throughout the spiritual community and the academic community.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it is like what brought us together, I think this time is probably plasma. And I don't know if like we talked we've had Malcolm Bendel on the show a few times. We've touched on the plasma stuff quite a bit. We've talked about Robert Temple's book. And even just before I had a video come to me before the show here, I was watching on YouTube with I just want to mention it now just for context because you might probably know way more about this than me, but it was that guy Base Forge, who's pretty interesting about ancient temples and stuff like that. I think he kind of had like a TikTok or a YouTube. His YouTube's pretty good, but he had on Dana the Alien, who wrote a book about plasma.
Oh, really? I'm not familiar. No.
I know. So that's what's
And
so trippy. I'm like, how is this
Yeah.
possible
I
that
know. I know
right?
Robert Temple though. I actually, there's a little controversy with it because like I shared a lot of information with him because I met him through Professor Chandra Wick Robinson.
Yep.
And then like a year later, he had that plasma book, and I was sharing a lot of my information with him. But I think I helped spark some of his ideas, and he took it to another level. But I was a little naive and a little excited to be in correspondence with him at the time.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And I was sharing information. He kept like emailing me back one sentence like, "That's interesting. Tell me more."
Yeah.
And I kept telling him more.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's good. That's the way it goes. I mean,
yeah, that's the way it goes.
it'll all come back around. I mean, her name is Dana Kippel, polymath author, filmmaker, speaker, plasma intelligence metaphysician. So her book is
Metaphysician. Wow.
a new a new
What a
optimistic
great
future.
term. I mean,
Optimistic futurist. I skipped the last one, and that sounds really interesting too. Actually, she was on Greg Carlwood's show. I just noticed not too long ago, I think. But her book is a new force, and it's called "Plasma Consciousness and the Human Potential." So I
Interesting.
thought that's really weird because I haven't really heard of her or that book, that much. And then you're coming on talking about plasma. So
Yeah, I'm working on a book series right now, and it has to do with the golden lasso of the gods. The coronal mass ejection, and we're going to get into that and how I came upon that information as well. Basically, I don't know if you guys remember, but I had a near death experience when I was 9 years old, and that pretty much sent me down the path. Not only did I already come from a background of mystics and blacksmiths, but my near death experience set me on the path which ultimately led me into plasma physics. I have the level of a senior undergraduate in plasma physics, but I got more towards the spiritual side and not the mathematics side of it because it's related to not just the lifeblood of the universe, but it's connected to the spiritual domain of all living creatures, and it's connected to the spinal current of humanity. We're literally walking antennas that's connected to the light of the universe. And plasma is not just the fourth stage of matter. It's interconnecting everything. It's interconnecting the strings of galaxies, and it's nebulas and planetary, interplanetary nebula, all sorts of, it's not an empty vacuum, right? It's filled with plasma space, and it's sentient. There's certain structures that form within the plasma at certain times to stream it, to broadcast the light, to send it throughout the universe, and it's
so
it's a sentient form of matter.
was the ether always plasma then?
I would say so. I would say when you look at the gods of all mythologies and religions, they would be all different species of plasma, like suns, stars, the celestial lights that you see. And then the structures that form within the plasma seem to be the attendants of the gods, the children of the gods. right? The fairies, the nymphs, things like this, right? And it's all about the celestial waters. We literally have what they say in schools, archaic. Our sun is not a hydrogen gas sphere. It's a plasma sphere, a plasma star, right? And it's 99.8% or something in a plasma state, or 98 in a plasma state. So, and it's streaming rivers of plasma, right? And all these rivers of plasma have all the codes of creation, sustenance, evolution, and dissolution and rebirth, right? And they're sending these streams, these rivers of plasma through pulsating out from each sun and star. And these form a confluence of one big celestial ocean. And this is the Akashic records. This is where, once the thoughts of sentient creatures start to happen, things start to collide and excite in the plasma, and creation comes.
Dude, you got to talk to her. You have to talk to her.
You know,
I only listened to her for like a half hour, but man, it is exactly what you're talking about.
Wow, really? Yeah, I have no idea who she is. And
she was mentioning, like, because I never thought about it this way, but she was mentioning it was the luminous ether from the ancient, right?
Yeah, when you see like the gods of the winds,
the radiant matter,
with solar wind and interplanetary winds, all of that, you know. Yeah, radiant matter is actually what it used to be called by Sir William Crookes in 1870. And interesting enough, if you look into like Theosophy, Rudolf Steiner talks about this, that there was an astral war that took place between 1841 and 1879. Right. And in 1879, Archangel Michael cast these dark legions back down onto the planet. And these are now unseen forces, right? Unseen forces that are now keeping mankind spiritually preoccupied with certain spiritual information and new technologies that arise. Right. So in 1879, all of a sudden, Sir William Crookes rediscovers radiant matter. Right. Thomas Edison all of a sudden has the first incandescent light bulb. Right. All these new technologies start to arise. And also we start discovering things that really have to do with the light body of the soul. The pyramid texts were first discovered in 1879. The golden tablets of Thuri that have to do with the Orpheus mysteries and traveling into the plasma waters in the afterlife. The lake of Mnemosyne and the lake of Lethe. Right. This all has to do with plasma technology. And I was shown, I started going to different megalithic sites, and there's one in New York called the Balanced Rock in North Salem, New York, right? And winter solstice morning, light comes through, and it's an archaeoastronomy alignment with the dolmen, right? And I had a vision, and I saw literally the arms of the sun handing down a loop, right? Just like you see Akhenaten in the 18th dynasty, where the arms of the sun is handing down a loop to its solar king, right? Its solar king. So these loops are what in plasma physics we call solar prominence, or a coronal mass ejection, right? On the sun, you have magnetic field lines that are in constant motion. Now they become tangled and twisted by the convection of plasma and the differential rotation of the sun. Now, these sun's magnetic field lines, they can explosively release a massive bubble or loop of plasma into space. This is the Ankh of Egypt. It's the Pasha of Hindu, right? In the Hindu, they call this the Pasha, where Varuna wields this golden noose or golden lasso. And it's literally described as the Varuna Pasha, and Varuna wields it. And it's described as a golden lasso that is coming from Varuna, who's the god of the solar waters, literally the god of the solar waters, Varuna. He's wielding this loop, and it's used as a lasso to pull the souls into the celestial waters off of Earth. Right? Ganesha also uses this to remove the evil on Earth. Literally remove it, sweep it with this loop, this Ankh loop, right? And that's the most groundbreaking translation of any ancient Egyptian symbol in that people have been debating over in academic circles and the spiritual circles for hundreds of years, if not thousands, right? So, and it's incredible that they knew about the coronal mass ejection. It's described in various ways all over. It's a magnetic reconnection event, and you can see magnetic reconnection events described all over mythology, even when it comes to Horus standing there on the lion with two serpents in his hand. You have separate magnetic field lines about to be twisted, and then you have an explosive release on their head with a lotus bulb, right? These are the structures that form within the plasma that channel the light, plasma cones, right? They literally form. You could see them even in pulsars and explosions like the Vela pulsar or the Crab Nebula pulsar, literally bulbs or funnels, that form to broadcast the sound of the light, right? To stream the light throughout the universe. It's incredible information, and it's one of the most important symbols of the solar gods, right? And even down to the variations down to the handbag of Sumerian and all sorts of things like that.
Well, it's getting a lot of attention, just like we mentioned sort of before we started recording about how it's a bit of a war on this information here. But I was just texting Darren last night that this guy from the All In podcast, I don't know, it's like these billionaires that have this podcast. It's a very popular podcast, but the sciencey guy on there, David Freeberg, was talking about CMEs and last weekend the Northern Lights and all that were happening, the Aurora Borealis from it. So, I mean, but he's talked about cataclysms.
Yeah. So
this
check
guy
this out.
Comes on and this is massive mainstream like tech bro.
As far as I know, though, I don't know of any person that talks about the coronal mass ejection actually being the Ankh.
No. But what I'm saying is that it's getting attention. It's getting
And dude, I've actually been writing about recently that in the book that I'm working on, and this is exclusive, sharing this with you guys, that the story that you see repeated in mythology, Indra versus Vitra, Archangel Michael versus the dragon, Tiamat versus Marduk, Bel versus the dragon. There's just so many of them, right? This actually is the story talking about the ferocious war between the sun and the magnetosphere, right? And when the magnetosphere is pierced by Indra or by Michael Dragon, it releases the waters, the auroras on the planet, right? It's literally talking about the coiled serpent, the magnetosphere and the magnetotail, and how the magnetotail stretches out on the night side. The serpent lays down and it's pierced in the belly and releases the waters on the planet, right? This is incredible, right?
That is,
It's incredible. And they're repeating this, and they talk about the spiritual significance to the domain of humans on Earth.
Wow.
Right? It's incredible.
I know Darren's got a question. I know what Darren's going to ask right now.
What am I going to ask?
Let's see if I'm right.
I would like, well, no, I wasn't going to ask anything. I was just pondering what, because the deep ocean is under extreme amounts of pressure between gravity and the weight of the water that's sitting upon it, and the atmosphere is pushing down on it constantly. And I was just sort of contemplating a mechanism that, because you got pole shifts, you got impacts, you got all these different ways to get the water moving about, but just like a tweak in the gravity or the pressure someplace might be enough to literally just have it come up. I mean,
I think that's even how volcanoes rise. It's the music from the sun that's literally shaking the planet. I mean, we literally have a chorus going on in the magnetosphere.
Yeah, not just heating that water up, because
in my opinion, the magnetosphere is the Duat of Egypt. It's the Gehenna of Hebrew. It's the Hades. It's the heaven and hell around Earth. And when you're a light body, when you die, you have to cross over into those waters, into that light, and merge with it. And and they talk about in the golden tablets of Orpheus. I don't know if you're familiar with the golden tablets of Petalea, the golden tablets of Turi. They were found in southern Italy. They were Greek colonies. And they talk about literally instructions for the afterlife. And I'm translating them as literally giving instructions to go to the night side of the magnetosphere where there's a barrier, right? And to avoid one area, which they call the lake of Lethe, the lake of oblivion, because if you merge your light body with that lake, you get scattered in the auroras in oblivion. But if you go to the right and you go to the lake of memory, the lake of Mnemosyne, and you merge with that lake, you find your divine origins and you go back to the boat of the sun, right? Because when you have coronal mass ejections, some of those coronal mass ejections end up as auroras. Some of them snap back to the sun. You're literally riding the boat of the sun, just like that's talked about in Pharaoh Unas of the pyramid texts.
Are you trying to stay in this solar system then?
I literally think that there's a way to ride these cords, these magnetic field lines, as a light body back into the portal of the sun.
Yeah, but in this solar, so
In
so
this
one of
solar
the,
system. But you know, though, there's literally that NASA has found these. There's tunnels of plasma that go from our solar system to other solar systems. They're interconnected. They're all strung together, right? It's a series of tunnels of light that's interconnected. It's the lifeblood of the universe, right? It's they even call it in plasma physics different species of plasma, and they show collective
right.
behavior.
So the ether is a species or a dimension of plasma, or like a layer of plasma, then,
Sure.
right? Because this
For
is the way I
sure.
haven't really thought about it before. I always thought of it as a plasmoid, like Malcolm, like that it has to have that spark, that sort of fiery, that sort of non-heated fire to it. But
Yeah, there's cold plasmas. There's all
but
types of plasmas. You can even
but
take
there's
two quartz together and get a plasma, a cold light. Two pieces of quartz, the piezoelectric.
but didn't we lose, like, because you mentioned that astral war in the 1800s? Didn't we lose that war to electricity? Basically, like the ether went away. As
Well, I
far as
think,
like scientific community goes, like electricity came in, took away our ether. That's
yeah.
why
Well,
we don't really talk about it.
these forces of unseen forces, if you want to say, you can call them Grigori, watchers, rebellious angels, however you want to look at it. They're here to keep us spiritually preoccupied and divert us off our spiritual course. They fell from a higher heaven, so to say, right? So they're not going to let us spiritually ascend to what they fell from, right? They were cast back down, right? And they're here now preventing us, diverting us off our course. And when certain people, because I would say out of the spiritual and academic community, that people in this community that I speak in, that's related to like, there's like 90% of it that is just bull. It's crap, right? And then you have a few people that are real warriors, right? Real ones. And those people get the most obstacles and the most suppression and the most things put in their way to try. It's those dark forces. Those dark forces are talking to these people that are spreading all of this, regurgitating all this spiritual information out there, and talking about that they're like these superheroes traveling to other planets all the time, and all this stuff that keeps people entertained and spiritually preoccupied, right? They're unknowingly being affected by these dark forces. I'm not saying they're all lying. A lot of them are having real experiences, but they're being deceived. They're getting a little bit of truth packed with a whole bunch of nonsense to keep people off their course and spiritually preoccupied chasing their tail.
Where do you see us right now in this? Like, are we coming out of it, or?
Dude, we are at the cusp of losing who we are completely, right? And
I thought you were going to say the opposite. That we're on the cusp of gaining who we are.
We're at the cusp of losing who we are and ascending higher. It's at that break point, right? And this is like, I think the final war for humanity to be who it is, right? We're gonna evolve into something way else, like almost like
a construct,
no authenticity, just you're just hooked to the feed, right? And there's no, everybody has to be a cheerleader for everybody else, basically. There's no, and you could see that happening if you even, you can't even be authentic. You have to, most people that get interviewed nowadays, you have to agree with them. If you tell them you don't agree with them, they think you're their enemy. Like, what? I'm not supposed to, I can't have my own freaking opinion. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, that's
right?
really weird.
And that's how most people are. And
sure.
I've told people off at conferences, bro, because like, straight up, like I'm not your cheerleader. I can't, like, if I don't agree,
what would be an example of the topic that you disagreed with?
See, a lot of times at these conferences, it becomes, people aren't colleagues, they're competition.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like almost like being on the street, like where you got a drug dealer or something, but they're peddling outlandish stories. And
which is ironic because
they want to be the one on the block peddling the best outlandish story, and the other one that comes, I know I got that shit right here, that guy's stuff is garbage. And that's exactly what happens at these conferences.
And in academia. I mean, it's
Yeah.
somehow surprising how the two sort of mimic each other.
And then
Academia is just the real gangsters in the room that manage to just completely crush everything, you know?
yeah. Yeah, dude, it's incredible, man. But to get back to what we were talking about, I mean, a lot of mythology and ancient religions are literally talking about Birkeland current physics, like the Naga. Or even for instance, I haven't even seen anybody talk about this part of it. Apollo, right? Apollo in Greek. He's the sun, right? His messengers are dolphins, right? And he has them on leashes. So dolphins move just the way plasma waves move, the information through the plasma waves, right? And they're literally traveling on the cosmic waters of the sun. And they're called the messengers of the sun. And he has them on magnetic field line leashes, constrained on leashes, the same way that plasma waves and solar wind and plasma physics works, right? And then what also does Apollo have? He has the harp, the lyre, and guitar strings, harp strings, they vibrate and move just like the same way plasma waves do. The same way. And he's really broadcasting the music of the sun. And he has his messengers, his dolphins.
And the
Right.
dolphins, the dolphin birth thing was quite the controversy. I just saw a video the other day about how got illegal. Like they made that illegal, right? The dolphin births.
Oh,
And
wow, really?
they went, because I was always wondering, like, didn't they go follow the kids that were, and apparently the kids that were birthed through dolphin births have special abilities. And
Yeah, I can imagine. They're
something
even
weird
like
going on with the
killer
sonar.
whales are dolphins too. They're incredible things. John Lilly did a lot of work with dolphins. I think he was even giving them acid at one point.
That doesn't seem like a great idea.
No,
I mean,
I think
I'm not
he
convinced that having
he
a
lost his
baby
funding, I think.
with a dolphin is a great idea either. I don't want to infringe on anyone else's
He wrote
freedom to do that.
I have a couple of books by John Lilly, and he was like a pioneer, but then he got discredited because he started doing a lot of ketamine. Here's a
that happens.
he invented the sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote this one, Center of the Cyclone. That was a famous one. And then I got this one from the 60s too. That's communication between man and dolphin, John Lilly.
Yeah.
But he was an interesting dude. But unfortunately, I think he fried his brain a little bit too much. But he talked to me. You ever remember the video game Echo? Echo the Dolphin?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was modeled after John Lilly because he worked with dolphins, and he called this astral agency Echo, and they had to do with people's lives. They would like make coincidences happen, kind of like Carl Jung with synchronicities, right? Well, he had this Echo organization that like say like people, an accident happened, or you met your wife at a bar. There was all these coincidences that took place for you to meet her that day, and there's an organization, an astral organization that as he traveled through inner space, he became aware of this organization he discusses in his books. So if you never looked at that, you could check him out. John Lilly. I think he passed away in the late 90s or early 2000s. And he was a good friend with Dr. Poharich as well.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they were good friends.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Puharich is connected with all kinds of stuff.
Which is interesting.
Right now, it's like
he was friends with my birth doctor as well. They were both Army intelligence and both lived in Westchester County, New York, and both were like really close friends.
No!
And when Dr. Poharich went out of Army intelligence and was living in Westchester County, New York, he had what's called Lab 9 over there, where even the guy from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, he used to go to those sessions there, and then the place burnt down. But my birth doctor, his name was Dr. Eugene Levinson in Mount Vernon, New York, and he was an Army intelligence, and then he went into private practice as delivering babies. He was a medical doctor and an Army intelligence officer, and are
you sure they didn't do anything to you when you were
born? I was born inside the caul. I don't know if you know what that means, but you can look it up. It's spelled CAUL. I was born inside the caul and with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. Well, this is when my mother's water never broke, and I was born, the right way, but my mother's water never broke, so I came out still in the pod.
Wow.
Right? It's 1 in 150,000 babies are born. Some people are born just with the veil on their head and face, but I was totally enveloped in it with the cord wrapped around my neck. It's actually called, the technical term is in caul birth with nuchal cord, because I had the cord around my neck and I was still enveloped. And a majority of babies that are born this way are experience hypersensitivities to vibration, sound, light. They see ghosts. They talk to spirits. They all these types of things throughout their life. Deep dreams, lucid dreams. They're highly intuitive. And in the past, in ancient Egypt, they literally called this the net of Neith, the veil of Isis. And Isis was actually shown enveloped in a veil in her head and face and body as she gives birth to the pure birth without her water coming out, and the net of Neith, it was called. And people were coveted. Like in the past, shaman coveted babies born this way, and they would raise them, right, as seers. Nowadays, I actually think that doctors are on the payrolls and they give covert agencies the heads up on babies born this way, because you're literally given a code at birth. Everybody is, right? Your traits, your everything. And this is fed out to organizations, right? Your blood type, your traits, your everything. It's sold, right? And you're given a code and it's followed. And these organizations, they practice star magic with this code to try to, bring along the baby's life.
And kind of find out if there's any special.
You steer the course through star magic, and they'll use it on in Italian witchcraft. They call it the Ember Days, on solstices, on equinox, where they do search rituals aligned with the royal stars. You got, the Aldebaran, you got all the 4 royal stars of the Persians, right? And they use this as the 4 watchers, the 4 watchtowers. The watcher of the east, the watcher of the west, Famalhut, Aldebaran, Antares, Rigel. I think there's like 4 of them. And these are the 4 north, east, and south, the west, all the watchers. And they go on the ritual circles. And on certain days of the year, like solstice and equinox, they do rituals. And I'm pretty sure it's involving certain people, and they steer the course of their lives with the star magic.
And what caused your NDE again?
So check this out. See, I grew up playing, not also did I compete in wrestling and high level soccer. Like we call it travel soccer in New York, where I play it all year round, right? Even indoor soccer, everything like that, right? I played and I also was competing in martial arts, throughout my whole life. I competed in Muay Thai, wrestling, all sorts of things. So I was playing pretty high level soccer. I was in 1987 is when this happened. I was 9 years old, right? And we were playing this town called Thistle. And they were like a New Jersey town, and they had a couple of like 4 or 5 Irish immigrants on the team, and they were really scrappy kids. And they're kids that really played all year round and nothing else. Like, in New York, we play baseball, we play this, we play that. These kids just played soccer and nothing else. And they were wiry, tough kids, right? And I happened to be most of the kids on my team, and I played on the travel soccer team I was on is the 1978 North Rockland Sting. I'm in North Rockland, New York, right? Rockland County. So I was on the North Rockland Sting 1978. And we were playing the Thistle team. And I happened to be, most of my team were prima donna kind of finesse players. And I happened to be the one rough kid on the team that was put in for slide tackling and shit like that, right? So we had this rough team that we were playing. And I was going to war with this one kid. I was the sweeper and he was the center striker. All game long, I was on his ass. We were elbowing each other, really grinding. And it came to it, and this was in school had just started. It was in September. It was cold and wet outside. The ball was really rough, right? So he was about to go shoot on net, and I jumped in front of him. He was kicking with all his might, and not only did the ball, but his foot hit me right in the groin. My cup cracked and everything, right? And I got lifted off the ground and even hit my head. I had like a slight concussion. So I was in a lot of pain. My cup cracked. I didn't my left testicle got ruptured, and I didn't even know it at the time or what happened. Wait, check this out. So the ambulance was going to take a while. So my parents threw me in the car because everybody was all the parents were there, right? They threw me in the car and we're driving to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, I'm telling my dad, like, you know how it is to get kicked in the nuts. Like, I'll be fine in 20 minutes. Just go home. I'm not going to the hospital and pulling my pants down. I was literally telling my father, right? And my dad's looking at my mom. Yeah, Jenna, he might be all right. Yeah, right? So we go home, and this is on a Sunday, dude, right? So we go home, and I fall asleep. Monday morning comes, and my mom's like, "You're going on the bus." I'm like, "Oh, my stomach hurts," right? I don't remember anything else. Apparently, I was walking to class. I got actually on the bus, walked to class. I don't remember any of that. They said I blacked out on the way to class. So what had happened was my testicle like ruptured and there was a black tissue forming in my left testicle. And it was cutting off like oxygen, blood flow, and all this shit. And I blacked out. So I was either going to like die or freaking lose my testicle or freaking whatever. But they had to do an emergency operation. And God sent an angel that day because there was a Dr. Barr, Barr. Shout out to Dr. Barr if he's still around, because he was a nationally known surgeon who happened to be doing a special surgery at the freaking hospital that day, Good Samaritan Hospital. And he was there for this, and he had to do a special surgery on my left testicle and pull out this black tissue, right? And what I remember is, like, I remember going towards the bus in the morning, but guys, the next thing I remember is right before I woke up on the operating table, I was hovering over my body. This is what led me to all the plasma research, right? I was hovering over my body, literally looking at them working on me in the operating table. And it looked like my arms were out on the operating table and my legs were out, like I was giving birth, and they were operating on me. And I could see it all, right? And I was in the same position, hovering over them, my arms out and my legs out, in that same position, hovering over my body, looking at them. And I remember something to the effect, like, I made like a conscious choice. I remember saying like, oh, like that doesn't look good. I don't want it. Like, it looks like pain. Like, I don't want to deal with it. And the minute I made that choice, a warmth of light surrounded me and shot me up like dude, like Google Earth, like straight up like Superman, right? And as I'm passing out of Earth, there was this green sea of intelligence, and it sounded like whale song and bird song. Ooh, I was passed through this, right? And then I'm hovering over Earth, literally watching Earth like spin, right? I'm hovering over it. And in front of me is similar to, like, it kind of looked like on a hot summer day when you see that shimmering wave in the air, almost like a mirage. It looked like that, but it was whirling and like it had structure to it, like a tube, right? I thought it was like a crystal structure. For years, I was describing it as a crystal structure, maybe, or some, but it was like a water almost, right? But it was whirling and it was a tube. I intuitively moved into that, right? And as I moved into it, it was like I didn't get wet or anything like that, but it was like, I'm making this sound longer than it was because it's like 30 seconds before I woke up on the operating table. It was really quick, right? I merged into this, and it was like I was the bubble in a carpenter's level. I had to level myself out in it. And while I was in it, it was more alive, more vivid, more real than this reality can ever feel. And it felt like it was analyzing every molecule and fiber of my body. Maybe like all the information of my life and other lives and all the universe might have been in there. I felt like I just I could access it or something. It was like so alive and filled with everything. And I felt like everything was being analyzed of my life. I was balancing myself out in it. Like I was being analyzed. And the minute I balanced myself out completely in it, like completely straight, like the bubble in a carpenter's level, I woke up on the operating table in the same fucking shape, in the same way. And I'm freaking yelling at them, like, what, where did you just have me? They're like, listen, you're hallucinating, you were unconscious. We had you under, like, blah, blah, blah. And bro, my whole life, I've been having blinking recollections of that event. It sent me on, even ask my wife, ask my daughter, even when I go to take a dump, I have 3 books with me. I'm like pouring through stuff, looking for answers, because no one can tell me my mind as a 9-year-old kid made that up. No freaking way. Yeah. Right? No way. And I didn't have the terminology at the time to describe it, but now I do.
Space water.
Now I do. And I was in a region of the magnetosphere at that time. And I've been looking for answers, bro. And I'm starting to, after 30 years of going to battle for the answers, the universe is starting to show me some things. Right. And it's not because I was looking through them through the books. It's because you have to go through life and live life. And then through life's up and downs, you start to get revealed these freaking answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
where does that have to do with does that have anything to do with Temple's clouds, the Kardashev? Are they Kardashev clouds, or what are the
Korluski clouds?
yeah.
These are like a double earth. This is like where they talk about it in ancient Egyptian, in my opinion, with the double earth, right? It's like a region with the moon and
So you weren't in those clouds though, were you? You think it was more of like the
I
magnetosphere?
think I was on the night side of the magnetosphere.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's a region in there where there's, dude, that region can be described as a dynamic, mountainous, rigid landscape with rivers flowing through it that's ruled by infernal, chaotic gods, right? Like with that region on the night side in the magnetopause and the magnetotail, it's ruled by chaos, right? It takes in some of the charged particles from the sun. This is the piercing of Archangel Michael, the charged particles that come into the dragon, who lays down on the night side, the coiled dragon, right? And those charged particles get all chaotic in the magnetotail and magnetopause region, and they friggin' erupt into auroras, right? So that is all vividly described, and they didn't have the advanced, you know, all the advanced telescopes and everything that we use to detect this nowadays. They were using states of samadhi, being in states of samadhi to communicate with the light of the universe, to see these universal structures, to see these universal laws and structures. When you see hieroglyphics, they're literally showing you universal structures and codes, some of them even related possibly to bacterial genetics, like the bacteriophage, right? Things like that. Have you ever seen what a bacteriophage is? A bacteriophage, literally, they call it horizontal gene transfer. It attaches to like an E. coli cell in your gut, and it can transfer genes from one species to another. It can make you heal. It can make you sick, right? Bacteriophage literally has an icosahedron head with a conical tail. Literally how
evolution.
Literally how Giza is set up. An icosahedral structure with a conical tail underneath the ground and injectors underneath it. And in the icosahedral head, it holds the DNA, and it transfers DNA from one species to another. If that doesn't show you something's under divine control of the universe, like look up a bacteriophage.
Can it cause hybridization?
That I don't know.
Could that be
Or
like?
did you say evolution at first, or Darren?
Well, evolution, hybridization. It seems like the same sort of,
Yeah,
could be the same thing.
I think it's related to people can use it in cloning. People can use it in all sorts of things, and that you can literally inject bacteriophages to heal somebody or to kill somebody into your, like they transfer. I think it has to do with the E. coli, attaches to the E. coli cell. And bro,
Yeah, I
they're
wonder if different bits of that could be, because then you could almost be looking at weird panspermia stuff where this stuff just sort of blows in or gets
yeah.
in somehow.
Well, that's where my friend Professor Chandra comes in. Him and Surfrey Oil
gets into some monkeys, and we turn into whatever, like
yeah.
Because
dude, in my opinion,
enough
all
time
these,
for it to be. It seems like I mean, I haven't tossed out evolution because it seems to be happening in front of us
yeah,
all the time. But
and
I
dude,
think
we're being evolved by the stars. You know,
I
if
think
you
hybridization plays a role, so that could be just a mechanism for that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I agree. And, I would say, because everybody's debating about Three Eye Atlas and things like that, I would say all comets are under divine intelligence. You literally have them traveling around on mathematical orbits, carrying the compounds of life, of like they're literally carrying ancient bacterias and codes of life, and they're traveling around on mathematical orbits and just happen to go into certain solar systems and seed that solar system, right? That's not, they're under divine control, in my opinion. They all are.
What does
So,
Vic Swing think of Three Eye Atlas, do you think?
well, I had him on the last time about 3 or 4 months ago, and he said it was an exotic comet. But the way I look at things is that all comets are related to the angelic messengers of God. They're all that's how life is seeded throughout the universe. You could call it a plasma craft, you could call it whatever you want, but they all have interesting things. Like everyone, like when a comet goes into the inner solar system, it develops its plasma tail, and there's magnetic reconnection events with the plasma tail as well, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? And then as it starts to go towards the sun and communicate with the sun, it starts to leak and outgas all these seeds of life that it's been embedded in it for possibly thousands of years or more, right? And then some of these interstellar visitors, they're carrying interstellar bacterias and bacteriophages. You literally have bacteriophages on the outside of the ISS. They're flying through space. Bacterias are flying through space. And this is how life is seeded throughout the universe, right? They shouldn't be looking for radio signals. They should be looking for where the bacteria is being sent from. You know, bacteria is traveling all throughout the universe. Where's it being sent from? Who's sending it?
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's a whole mechanism of. That's really interesting. I mean, I wonder what Jupiter. I wonder what changes have happened in Jupiter since.
Oh man, Jupiter
since,
is
what
incredible. You know, even there's
that, what was that one in the 80s or 90s? That
it's
famous cometary impact.
Oh yeah, it's probably dated by now.
Levy 9.
This book, The Physics of the Jovian Magnetosphere, it's a little dated now. It came out from, I think this one is from
was it after Shoemaker Levy, or
this is came from Cambridge, this one, the Cambridge book. Oh wait, this is Dr. Dessler. This one was published in 1983 by Cambridge University. But this talks about the magnetosphere of Jupiter, right? The Jovian magnetosphere. In my opinion, what I've been writing about, these are the Garudas of Hindu. They protect planetary systems. And you have the Jovian Garuda, one of the largest things in our solar system, right? And what's interesting about the magnetosphere is Jupiter.
Wasn't Jupiter also always like the top god?
Yeah, right. And well, he is one of them. He's like Zeus, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't. Is that what it is? Jupiter was Zeus. Because I was just listening to Velikovsky last night on the plane.
Oh, interesting.
Talking about how he figures that the reason that Jupiter was always the god that could throw the lightning bolts. They weren't like terrestrial.
Yeah, that's the Vajra. That's the Vajra.
They were fucking. They were some sort of some other. I don't know exactly.
Dude, those lightning bolts are coronal mass ejections.
Exactly, but from Jupiter, not from the sun.
Wow. So what's interesting about that? Check this out. So the Jovian magnetosphere, which is the magnetosphere of Jupiter, our magnetosphere around Earth gets its plasma from the solar wind, from the sun, right? And the sun, the ramming force of the sun is what shapes our magnetosphere. What creates our magnetosphere is the spinning of the Earth, the molten iron core, and these iron cords of metal come out, right? They describe this in the Pharaoh Unas. He rides the cords of metal on the sunboat, right? Well, the magnetosphere is formed that way, but it's shaped by the force of our solar wind. The solar wind ramming towards the magnetosphere is what shapes it and what stretches it out on the night side. But the Jupiter magnetosphere, it doesn't get its plasma from the sun. It gets its plasma from a volcanic moon, Io. And Io creates this huge plasma sphere around Jupiter. It's incredible, right? And Jupiter's a magical place, dude. Just a magical place. It might be like a soul station. Like we're like after death, we go through these various places, like from magnetosphere to magnetospheres. There are different stages of plasma, you know, of light, where we get, you know, like, you know, maybe revigorated in the light, or, you know, reborn in the light, or it purifies us in the light somehow, right?
That's a weird name for that moon too, because
maybe that moon is like a volcanic hell where souls get purified. You know, who knows? Very interesting. Very interesting.
So, I mean, what is going on with Atlas then? Is it here? Is it getting here? I feel so out of touch on this one because I've expected it like 3 times now.
What is it?
The Atlas. Is the Atlas here? Is it on the way out yet?
I don't know how much you hold weight to Alice Bailey and her work. She was a theosophist, I guess you can call her. She came out of theosophy, and she wrote in the 1930s. Let's see, I have it here somewhere.
She started the Lucis Trust,
externalization of the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right. So on page.
Supposedly she's got her spirituality in the UN and all that through the Lucis Trust.
On page 530, right? She talks
about conspiracies about her these days.
And she wrote this in 1939, that in the year 2025, there will be a revealing of some sort of celestial hierarchy, an externalization of a hierarchy, right? Some sort of celestial hierarchy that, of course, when you externalize, that means you become seen now. You were unseen, and now you're externalizing yourself. So she talks about an externalization of the hierarchy that will show up in 2025. And this is a celestial hierarchy coming from the heavens. So I would say if she's correct about that, maybe Three Eye Atlas is the best candidate for what she was talking about. And it wasn't coming from her, in her opinion. It was coming, she was channeling this from who she called the Tibetan Dawaj Kul, right? Who may have been some sort of sage in a samadhi stasis in the Himalayan caves. She talked about him being in the Himalayan caves. So maybe he was in some sort of samadhi stasis, as they talk about in Sanskrit.
Well, the masters can appear to us. Like, that's why I'm not sure what's non-human and what's human, because if these masters are really the way they're described, they could be monitoring our consciousness. They could be showing up as different things. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. But for sure, for your audience looking there, for what I was talking about, this is the coronal mass ejection. This is what I was talking about as the Ankh of Egypt, the loop, and the Pasha of Hindu.
So what else you got coming out that's tantalizing that you think is
oh, wait a sec though. I mean, that it's worth noting that the Ankh is not far off from all the petroglyphs of the dude with the shit coming out of his sides.
Yeah, and dude, even if you look at like Quetzalcoatl, right?
Squatter man? Squatter man?
It's called the Gate of the Sea.
We're talking the Ankh. That's like the little cross thing with the loop on top. I mean, just throw some legs on that shit, and you got the
Yeah, the Squatter Man. Well, the Squatter Man, that was from Anthony Perrott, right? He did his symbol, and actually, a guy named David Lapointe duplicated that experiment with his primer fields. He calls them. You guys can look that up. And what that is showing, in my opinion, is shaman on the petroglyphs that they show with Anthony Perrott. Shaman of the ancient world intuitively saw a worldwide solar event. And that's structures that form in a huge solar event. You have those plasma cones, those bowls that form above and below, right? For people in your audience that need a visual right now, I'll show you what we're talking about for Anthony Perrott. So, right here. So this is what they're talking about. The Squatter Man, similar to the Squatter Man. Right.
I mean,
so
it's not just like the Ankh, but you could see how
Yeah. So
they're not completely removed either.
You're very right, Darren. I agree with you. And these bowls that form, they form at certain times within the plasma to stream the light, basically to stream. And this is a long column of the solar wind, and these structures form to broadcast that. This is a huge solar event that most likely formed and was all over the earth. And intuitively, the shaman were seeing this and putting it in petroglyphs. I mean, these are universal structures of electricity and magnetism and plasma, right? This is universal laws and principles, right? Like the Ma'at of ancient Egypt, you had to be in harmony with the magnetosphere and the sun, right? It even comes out of Earth with this feather coming out of the pole with Ma'at, right? And it talks about having harmony and balance, because you have to have for life to exist on Earth. You have to have a harmonic relationship between the sun and the magnetosphere for life to exist, right? It is the Eden.
Fascinating.
All right, you can continue with your question, Graham.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't want to derail everything, but just what's next? Like, what else is coming out?
I just did a few conferences recently. I'll be on Dr. Michael Sala's show on December 4th. You guys can check that out. I do readings. I make my own devices. I don't know if you know, I make copper devices and copper and gemstone devices. Basically, I was guided to make devices to help bring people out of the fog. People are stuck in the fog. So I do copper tensor tools. First started by Slim Sperling, but I actually wrap them around gemstones and stuff as well. You can get regular copper devices like I make here, twisted copper coils, stuff like that. But I also copper rings. But I also do
right here.
Yeah, and I also do the copper around gemstones. This is for EMF protection, and I use various piezoelectric material. When you have a piece of quartz, say, it's piezoelectric. What that means is when it's compressed or rubbed or squeezed, it generates an electric current. So when something has a copper coil wrapped around it, it's infinitely squeezing that quartz, which opens up the electric current And when you have something open up an electric current, you could put thoughts into it. You could put frequencies into it. You know, this is how those crystal oscillators even work. You used to be able to get them at Radio Shack, right? You're squeezing quartz and then broadcasting frequencies from them, right? This is
Interesting.
yeah, yep.
I never
So you
really
got-
thought about that, like opening it up like that with some pressure.
Yeah, dude, I could take shit. I might have to turn out the lights, but I could show you. You could just take 2 pieces of quartz. Let me shut out the light for a minute.
Do you do any?
Take 2 pieces of quartz and start to rub them together. You'll see sparks. Hold on, let me get a better piece.
Okay, hang on. Let me stop sharing this so you can see. We can get okay.
Hold on, let me get a better piece.
Quartz.
You should start to see huge sparks when I just rub together the quartz. Can you see it? Wait,
No, not yet. No, can't see it.
I can feel it. Hold on.
You can feel it.
I can feel it. You know, it's like it's a cold light, but you could see it sparking inside. I could see it too. Like,
Oh, inside. I was.
Oh, is it outside? I was looking outside. I was looking for it.
It'll spark outside too, but
Oh, okay.
let me but you'll see it like lighting up inside. Maybe I have to shut out more lights. Let me shut this window.
So there's a link in the show notes to that, the mysticspiralstore.com, and also just while he's there, his YouTube, Exploring the Caul with Castaldo.
That should have worked, that big piece. Let me see.
It's oh, there you go.
Trying to get a raw piece that'll be easier. Let me get a.
My kid just found a bunch of
I'm trying to find a big raw piece that'll be easier, like this shit.
Obsidian?
yeah,
Here we
tons
go.
of
This should
obsidian, yeah.
you should see it. You should see it spark.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Wow.
See those sparks coming in?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and it's a cold light. Like there's no heat. It's a cold light, but you'll see some smoke. And now I got all quartz dust everywhere. But
Oh,
yeah,
thank
that's
you.
piezoelectricity. It generates an electric current. So when you wrap a copper coil around it, it's slowly always squeezing that. So it opens up the light.
Interesting.
I like it.
Yeah.
What else?
Is there any sort of cycle or pattern to these ejections?
What, the coronal mass ejections?
Yeah, the big the Ankh
Yeah,
loop.
well, that's the controversy. You know, NASA and astronomy, they won't tell you that incoming plasmas might be affecting the sun. And I think that it's possible that there's incoming streams of plasma that are hitting the surface of the sun that's helping with these sunspots and creating various entanglements of the plasma and stuff like that. So it's like a soup of constant motion of magnetic field lines, right? And it's sentient. Even like when you see the sunspots, they seem to always form like a face on the sun, right? Like it's there's similar structures form in the cosmos, in our anatomy, in nature, all over. And that's why I think some people get the misconception, like I've seen like these places with mud fossil and all that. That's not how the way things work. Not all stone and everything that you see is body parts. Just similar structures form within nature, within trees, within stone, as they do in our own anatomy. That doesn't mean a cave is a massive vagina.
Yeah.
It's just similar structures formed. It's the universe makes similar structures to efficiently decompose things, to efficiently do different things. Even like you'll see the way things branch in the universe, like light and plasma branches out. You'll see similar structures in our neural network, in trees,
Well, kind of along the lines of Darren's question, and this is kind of what I thought Darren was going to ask you before, is about the magnetic poles and the shift.
Yeah.
The shift that's happening with that. Like, is that in your research anywhere with ancient scriptures or with CMEs, anything causing
Yeah, I would say it's really hard to pinpoint if they're definitely talking about magnetic pole shifts, but there's definitely hints to it. And what's interesting is, I mean, we're seeing it happening. Like, do you know what the South Atlantic anomaly is?
I've
Yes.
heard of it. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
if
a
I believe it.
huge region where our magnetic field is weakening. You know, it's happening right now. You know, and it's now shift the poles over Siberia, I believe now.
So as the pole moves faster in the north, it affects stuff in the south.
Yeah, dude, I would say this north and the North Pole and the South Pole, like those are the entrances into heaven and hell, right? When those two areas are you even it's talked about all over, like go like the ancient Kabiri. You have to go towards the circumpolar stars and the celestial ship of the north. Go towards the Great Bear constellation in the north. You go, even Pharaoh Unas is talked about for him to travel. He leaves his body and goes towards the circumpolar stars, right? He's going towards the North Pole in his light body because that's the biggest opening in the magnetosphere, right? The North and the South Pole. So, like, if you think about it, if at the moment of death, if we have sort of like a light body magnetic duplicate of who we are, that would be like an imprint of all our DNA and everything is in there for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then if you merge with the light of the universe that's carrying, the DNA imprint of other species, this is how they immortalize themselves, the pharaohs in the plasma waters, in the duat. They become reborn as Kepra, in the sun, in the arms of the sun, right? They're becoming immortalized.
It's the interesting thing about that too is it sort of proves that the global warming thing is sort of bullshit because this anomaly can just start heating the ocean up at a pace that we
Right.
can't from underneath. What effect can we hope to have? And the analogy I like to look at is, try to you can't. It's pretty hard to boil a pot of water just by shooting the top of it with a blowtorch.
Yeah. You know what you're talking about too?
Shoot the bottom of it with a blowtorch for a little while.
Yeah, we've had, what's controversial is that we've had events where it's been major volcanism events on our planet, right? And what triggered these events is what's controversial. People don't say it could be like a solar discharge, CME event that could have led to it or something like that. But we have these volcanism events all over the planet that created these basalt events, right? Like the Deccan Traps in India, a massive region where it was a basalt event. And then they made these temples cut right out of the basalt. You've seen them probably, right? That all happened from a volcanism event, right? And you even have them right here in the Hudson Valley in New York, the Palisades Cliffs and all of that, right? These huge basalt events, that happen all over the planet. It could have been from some sort of solar lightning, a solar discharge event that would have heated up the waters, like you're saying, and bring new life out of the waters, volcanism and earthquakes and all of this stuff starts to rise. And you see that in mythology. I mean, even where the book of Revelation was prophesized, that island in Greek that was said to have risen out of the ocean, gleaming from the bottom of the ocean. It rose out of the ocean, right? It describes a volcano rising.
And then Plato describes it going back down.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you have it. Rod, this has been fantastic. One more time, where can people find all your stuff? Where can they get the store stuff? Where can they find your YouTube? Where can they track you down on social media? All that stuff.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Darren Graham. Thank you so much. You guys can find me pretty much on Patreon, patreon.com/The Mystical Spiral. On Substack, Rock Castaldo. You can find me on my website where I make my spiral devices. And also, if you go to the menu on my website, got all sorts of free information in there, sub menus. There's a lot of information on there. That's the mysticalspiralstore.com. And I also do on YouTube on Exploring the Ka channel with Ra. I do my Space Water podcast. And I think that's pretty much it. You can find me on social medias and stuff too.
We should do this again.
Dude, I will come on whenever you want. 9.5 or 10 years has been way too long.
When do you think your book's are you gonna get a book out at all? Or
I'm doing a series. I was gonna make it where it was like a 900-page book and just do Then my wife was like, you know what? Every chapter is its own little book. You should start to just do short little. So that's what I'm doing. The first one should be out in like 2 weeks.
All right, cool. Yeah. Let us
So if
know.
you want,
Keep in
we'll
touch.
come back on. Yeah, once it's out,
for
we'll come
sure.
back on.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. I really
All right, buddy.
appreciate it. It's been
Awesome.
a pleasure.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Spiral out.
How we going? And there's a chat with Rock Castaldo. It has been too long. That was a fun one. I mean, that was a good one. All these sort of different things coming merging together.
Exactly.
It could get weird out there, but yeah.
Very fitting. We were just texting about this last night.
Big thanks to Ra for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Of course, even bigger thanks if you're one of the few who do choose to support our value for value model over here, where we just keep coming at you with 700 going on 750 soon podcasts all out there for free with no paywall. Check out grimerica.ca/support to sign up, send some value back our way if you're getting some value from the show. Shout out to, I'm assuming that's Tony that sent us the 10 quid there. His name is Blasting Ducks. I think I can put that in there. So check out the live show on YouTube. We did get monetized there again, so you can watch on YouTube, share us on YouTube, support on YouTube. Best way to support us, so as always, grimerica.ca/support. Check out adultbrain.ca for audiobooks, contact@thecabin.com for trips and events, grimericaoutlaw.ca for other podcasts where we get a little more controversial, get into the stuff that they don't seem to want us to talk about, or at least they didn't for a long time. Now it seems to be okay some places and not okay other places, and okay for some people and not okay for other people. But it's the world we live in. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.